Are you the dependable one? The one that says yes even when you don't really want to? You tell yourself it's fine, you'll get to the writing later, but then later never seems to come. It's not your calendar that needs fixing or your discipline. Most likely, it's the way that you've been taught to treat your needs like they don't matter. In this video, we're going to talk about what people-pleasing is really costing you as a writer. Stay tuned and let me tell you what has helped me to get past this. Psychologists actually describe people-pleasing as a form of self-abandonment. I had never really thought of it that way till I read about this. But in a way, it makes perfect sense, right? If you're a people pleaser, you understand this feeling. Self-abandonment. It's like you're abandoning yourself in favor of doing whatever other people want you to do at that time. It comes from our upbringing for most of us because it is a survival instinct to do this people-pleasing thing. We learned as a young age that this is what we needed to do to keep the peace. And that may have worked in childhood or maybe in other relationships since then. But when it comes to your creative life, it tends to slowly chip away at this self that you're supposed to be becoming, because you stop asking about what you need. You stop devoting any of your time to this calling that you feel. And without even realizing, you stop showing up as the artist you're meant to be. Studies show that chronic people pleasers, and that means people who tend to people please regularly, often struggle with identity confusion. That means that we don't really know who we are, which of course makes perfect sense, because if we're trying to please all these other people, we're trying to be who they want us to be, which can over time confuse us as to who we really are. Are we these people we're trying to be for other people? Or are we these people that we feel we are inside? When we do this regularly, it tends to directly interfere with the part of the brain that is responsible for original thinking and creative risk. So we can see when we look at the science end of this and the psychological end of this, that this is really not good for us at all as people and really damaging for us as creative artists. And here's the tricky thing about it. When we're people pleasing, we don't feel like we're doing anything wrong. In fact, often we feel like we're doing the right thing. We're offering our help to other people. We're doing what other people want us to do. We feel like we're being of service. But here's exactly what this is. This is actually a form of procrastination on your creative work. And if you're like, no way, give me a second. This is a form of procrastination because procrastination is at its core an emotional coping technique. We procrastinate to help us avoid feeling bad in the moment and to help us feel a little better in that same moment. That's exactly what people pleasing is. If we say yes to someone when we mean to say no, we are avoiding the discomfort of a conflict with that person. People pleasing, in other words, becomes a socially acceptable form of avoidance because you're not just watching Netflix, you're not being lazy here, you're just helping other people at the expense of your writing and creative self. Here's the other thing that kind of blew my mind about what people pleasing actually is. That's going to help you finally push it out of your life. People pleasing is often a subtle form of control. I mean, let that blow your mind. If you're a people pleaser, you're like, what? I'm not controlling them. They're kind of controlling me because they're telling me they want me to do all this stuff and I'm doing all this stuff. It is a form of control in this way. Let me explain. It's a way of managing how other people see you. You're avoiding conflict, you're avoiding disapproval, and you're avoiding rejection by keeping all these people happy, even if that means losing touch with yourself. So psychologists have pointed this out. They've pointed out that even though people-pleasing looks selfless, people-pleasing is actually about controlling your environment so that you can feel safe. And I can relate to this entirely as a former people pleaser. The feeling that you don't want conflict. We don't want conflict in our lives, especially with other people, especially with people we care about. We don't want conflict. So this is kind of a way of controlling this environment. So we say yes and we do what they want us to do and we behave like they want us to behave because we know that'll keep the peace and keep everything calm in our lives and keep everybody happy and it'll feel safer to us. The opposite of that, honoring our needs and saying, no, I can't be there then because I need to write. We know that that could bring up conflict because suddenly we're not filling that need for that other person. That feels frightening to us. So in a way, we're keeping everything under control by doing this people-pleasing thing. Unfortunately, in the context of our creative life, this is devastating because we're kind of putting on a performance. We're being who these other people want us to be. We're not being ourselves. We're not taking the time to step into ourselves, and which includes a big part of ourselves ourselves is this creative part of ourselves. We're ignoring that. We're shoving it to the side. So we're essentially kind of putting on a performance. We don't necessarily want to say yes. We don't necessarily want to be doing all these things, but we're doing them. We're pretending that we want to do them. We're pretending that we're happy to do them to keep everything safe, but this is devastating to our creativity. Creativity is the opposite of safe. Creativity is the opposite of control. Creativity is born from freedom. Creativity is about taking risks. It's about trusting your own truth no matter what anybody else thinks. So if we're constantly managing everybody else's expectations and smoothing things over and trying not to upset anyone, how can we possibly then turn all that around and be creative in the next moment when we actually get to sit down and write? It's not easy. In fact, oftentimes it's impossible. I have found since I have been able to reduce my level of people pleasing that I've become more creative. I've become a better creator because I'm a little more confident in my creativity. I'm doing it more often. It feels more accessible to me. And I feel more willing to take risks because that's part of myself is growing because I'm tending to it and I'm nurturing it. When we're not doing that, then we feel really afraid to take any sort of risk. That all seems to upset the apple cart of safety that we have around us. I have one more danger to say, and then I'm going to give you some suggestions for how you can start honoring the creative side of yourself so that the people-pleasing side of yourself, that's the one that has to step aside a little bit. Okay, so here's the other danger. People-pleasing robs us of that mental space we need to be able to create. Neuroscientists have found that divergent thinking, which is just a scientific name for creative thinking, requires idle time, rest, and open-ended space. As people-pleasers, we tend to overcommit. Our schedules, are like this. Every calendar day is filled, right? Because we're doing this and this and this and this to make everybody else happy, and we kind of stay in this reactive mode. That kind of constant output leaves no room for that space we need to be creative. We need that daydreaming, that time to reflect, that time for deep thought. That's what compels us to create. We don't get that when our schedules are overloaded with all these things we're doing to please everybody else. You might think that you're balancing it all, and maybe you are balancing everything else but your creative life. But I would say if your creative life is suffering, then it's not balanced. It's totally off balance, and you're losing sight of this very important part of yourself. You may have noticed, if you've been away from your writing for a while, that when you try to go back to it, it's harder. It's harder to write. It's harder to create. Your book tends to stall. Your ideas may feel hollow, and the joy that you used to feel in writing starts to fade. What you're losing there isn't just progress. It's your relationship with writing itself, which I would ask you to please not lose, because it is very important, not only to your work that you're creating, but to yourself as you grow into the person you're meant to be. So this isn't a scheduling problem. It's an identity problem. You're giving up the version of yourself who was ready to finish this book. Okay, so let's talk about how you can reduce this danger in your creative life. Okay, so the first thing you have to do is make a choice. I had to realize at one point that my creative life was never going to become what I wanted it to be, that I was never going to get the time and the focus that I needed to devote to my writing to be able to get any good at it, unless I started making it a priority. I made a decision in my life to make it a priority, and that's what gave me the strength to then turn around and say no when I needed to. Doesn't mean I said no all the time, but it gave me the strength to say no and to protect those times that I had decided were going to be devoted to my writing. You already know what happens when you don't protect your time, right? It gets taken up by other things. If you still think in your mind that everyone else comes first, then you're never going to get to where you want to be as a writer. It really helps to decide in your own mind that writing is going to be one of your top 3 priorities every week, and then build in time for it and protect that time fiercely. Here's the second thing you need to do. You need to be willing to feel uncomfortable. Right now, you're letting discomfort and the fear of disappointing someone else carry more weight or be of a higher priority in your life than your creative needs. It's time to switch that around. It's time to put creative needs first, creative time first, and allow the discomfort to be there. Here's the good news. The discomfort will be very short-lived. I found through my change, when I made this change, that I wasn't nearly as indispensable as I thought I was. People can get by just fine without me if I can't be there to do everything they need me to do. You're probably going to find that out too. Now, granted, some people may be disappointed. You may have problems with one particular person person that expects you to always be there at their beck and call. And you might feel uncomfortable the first few times that you have to explain, no, I can't do it at this time. That's okay. Let it be uncomfortable. That's the second thing I'm saying that you want to do. Be willing to be uncomfortable temporarily, because I can pretty much promise you it's not going to last. Just realize that you're allowed to put yourself first sometimes. You're allowed to put your writing first sometimes. You're allowed to protect it. And you're allowed to see it as something central to who you are. If someone in your life is telling you that it's not that important or that you can get to it later, don't believe them. They don't know. They're not you. Trust yourself and what you're feeling, and allow this to be as important as you feel that it is. Stop abandoning the part of you that's already asking to be this creative person. Okay, here's the next thing you do. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to make it one of your top 3 priorities. The second thing you're going to do is be willing to be uncomfortable. The third thing you're going to do is practice saying no. This is the hard part. The next time somebody wants you to do something during the time that you've set aside for writing, practice saying no. And here's how you do it. You say, I'm sorry, I can't. That's all you have to say. You don't have to explain it. You don't have to tell them that you're writing during that time. You just have to say, I'm sorry, I can't. If they protest or try to persuade you otherwise, let them state their case. And when they're done, just say, I'm really sorry, I can't. And then if you want to do it another time, then suggest another time. If you don't want to, then let it sit there, and that's all there is to it. At that point, you can change the subject if you like, or you can stop the conversation if you like. You don't owe anyone an explanation for how you decide to spend your time, or whether you decide to do something or not to do something. That is wholly within your control, and you don't owe anyone an explanation. If you think about how you would respond to someone else, let's say you called up someone, a friend of yours, and you wanted them to do XYZ, and they said, I'm sorry, I can't. Okay, you might feel a little disappointed, but most likely you're not going to blame that person. Most likely you're going to assume they have something important going on. Imagine that the other person's going to feel the same way. There may be some people that blame you for it. That may happen. But here's the other thing. This is step number 4. When you do this process, you're going to start to feel the difference between being liked and being known. And you're going to start to notice the people in your life who like you for who you really are, and the people in your life who like you for the performance you've been putting on. And the people who like you for the performance you've been putting on aren't really your friends. If they start to dwindle away, then they were probably not really there in the first place anyway. People pleasing can feel like a connection. When you're pleasing everybody else and they're happy with you, that can feel like a connection. But if you think about it, if you're not really being yourself and you're not honoring who you really are, and you're putting on this performance, then they don't really know who you are. They're not connecting to who you really are. They're connecting to this character that you've created, that you're pretending to be. If you're honest, you probably already feel that something's missing in those relationships, because what they're responding to isn't really you. It's the version of you that they've come to rely on. The one who kind of doesn't take up space, tends to smooth things over, says yes before she even checks in with herself. This is the kind of person they're relating to, not to the person you really are. You've actually been playing a role. And when you stop playing that role and you notice the people who are still connected to you because they appreciate the real you, then I bet you're going to feel even more connected. The connections you have are going to feel stronger, because there's kind of a sense of loneliness that comes with people pleasing, because we know that underneath it all, that these people are relying on us to do the things they want us to do. And we kind of feel that if we didn't do those things, these people probably wouldn't still be in our lives. We kind of know that in the back of our minds. The people who truly see you, those are the real connections. And so as you go through this process, it might happen that some of them will drift away and the true ones will stay strong with you. Those are the relationships that are worth keeping. And you will find as you go through this, if my experience is any indicator, you'll find as you go through this, it's really freeing. You can start just being yourself. You can start making choices that honor your creative self. And if somebody doesn't like it, then they don't like it. If somebody wants to turn their back on you because they don't like it, then that's okay. You'll have the truer connections that are with you, and that feels really good, because then you're basing relationships on true connections and on who you really are. So just a quick recap of the 4 steps to help make people-pleasing less in your life and your creative work more in your life. Number 1, make your writing time a priority. Number 2, be willing to be a little uncomfortable. Number 3, practice saying no in a very simple way. And number 4, let the chips fall where they may, because being liked and being known are 2 different things. So here's your mission of the week, should you choose to accept it. This week, take note of when you feel that familiar tug to say yes when you really don't want to, or to put your writing aside when you had planned to do it. And before you respond, ask yourself this question: am I doing this because I really want to, or because I'm trying to avoid discomfort? I've got one more tip for you. If you're not sure that you can handle this saying no to someone, when the moment comes and someone asks you to do something, if you're not quite ready to stand up for yourself, say this, because I did this a lot and it really helped. I would say, let me check my schedule and I'll get back to you. That would give me the time to center in with myself and say, do I really want to do this, or do I want to protect my writing time right here? And then I would get back to them. Give yourself that space to make the choice that honors yourself. If this topic hit home with you, you'll definitely want to check out my new book, Escape the Writer's Web. It will help you overcome procrastination by helping you determine what type of procrastinator you are and what type of methods you can use to overcome that. And if you're ready to go deeper, I'm holding a live workshop in September where we will work through these mindset blocks together in real time. So you'll want to click on the link below to join that. Meanwhile, I hope this has been helpful for you. If you're a fellow people pleaser, then let me know in the comments. And if you have any other tips that may help, please share them. I'm sure we could all use them. Stay tuned to the next video showing up on the end screen, because it will also help you with mindset, overcoming procrastination, and tuning into your creative self. In the meantime, if you found value in this video, please hit the like button and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.